Welcome to the Inside Silverstone podcast, a business-focused podcast covering all things tech, engineering and innovation. Hosted by me, Chris Broome, a huge tech, motorsport and gaming fan, and also the owner of Longhurst, a firm of lifestyle financial planners and independent financial advisors located in Silverstone, Northamptonshire. This is a series of unscripted and unpolished conversations with leading business owners, thought leaders and high-tech talent where we discuss their experiences within the Silverstone business and motorsport region. We will also be asking them to share their knowledge, insight and their thoughts on the future just for you. If you're looking to learn more about the Silverstone high growth region and commercially connect with like-minded peers, you've definitely come to the right place. Welcome to Inside Silverstone. Welcome to the next edition of Inside Silverstone. My name is Chris Broome and I am your host. Today I am delighted to welcome to the show a new friend and a new Silverstone Technology Cluster fellow member, Jenna Collins from Collins Limited. Jenna, welcome to the show, my friend.
Hi Chris, thanks for having me.
Absolute pleasure. So, as is customary, we like to talk about you, your business, what you guys are up to, just so our wonderful listeners and now also our YouTube watchers get a better idea of who you guys are. And certainly those that are involved in engineering, technology, etc., can then even potentially look to partner up with your firm if there's a way of sort of collaborating. So, Collins Limited, what do you guys do?
So essentially, we support high-performance vehicle engineering teams, whether that be race teams or automotive companies, basically take that next step. The approach that we use basically gives them confidence to sort of take that next, take their business or their next project to the next level. I think our approach is reasonably unique, I would say. We take a very first principles approach to what we do. You may have heard that through people like Elon Musk. He talks about how he really takes everything, pulls it all apart, everything from his rocketry business to his automotive to digging holes under the ground and whatnot. He pulls it all apart, understands it from a physics level, build it all back up, and then try and make something more efficient, faster, lighter, whatever it might be. And we've found using that approach, we're able to come up with often novel ways of solving problems, whether that be cheaper, lighter, test rigs that don't cost as much as maybe what someone else could provide. So yeah, it's really, we've found that a real benefit, and then we're able to sort of pass those kind of benefits on in that approach to our clients. And
so who are your clients? What sector are you in motorsport? Are you engineering? What is it that you guys who are you actually supporting?
Okay, so it's essentially high performance vehicle manufacturers. So whether that be on the automotive side or the racing side.
Okay.
So for example, we've worked with Manor Racing Formula One as an ex-Formula One team now.
Yeah.
Back in 2016-17, we were looking at, for example, tyre finite element analysis with them. We actually did some of their pit stop equipment, and unfortunately they didn't make it to the car, but we actually were developing their 2017 steering wheel. Another example would be Vool Automotive. They've provided cars to the Race of Champions event recently in the last couple of years. They're a Mexican sports car company. So they've been one of our sort of long-standing clients, actually. So we've done everything from wind tunnel testing with them to developing charge air coolers and looking at their sort of engine installation, essentially. And then more recently working with West Surrey Racing. They're a racing team in British Touring Car Championship. Interestingly, I was just watching the Simon Dowson interview you did, where he was talking about Delta working with Cosworth on the new hybrid car. So it'll be interesting to see in the next couple of years how that pans out. So yeah, we just last weekend wrapped up the teams and manufacturers championship for BMW. So yeah, it's been a great journey actually, being back at the track. It's a very time pressured environment that kind of hones your skills and really gets you to focus on what's important, which we can then use those. Sorry,
I always scroll through LinkedIn to look at everyone's sort of bio because I'm a nosy Parker, and there's always some good stories in there, and I can see it's impressive. So you started back in the 90s, Andrew Jones Racing, and as I scroll up this page,
make me feel old.
Well, look, but it's fine. I'm a child of the 80s, so it's fine. So then got And so I started work at the same sort of time as you. So through to Volvo Racing Australia, because obviously you're sort of born and bred Australia, and then came to the UK. I think you said when did you come to the UK?
2001.
2001, because your father's Scottish.
That's right. Yeah.
So you and your brother came over. But as I scroll up this page, we've got Volvo Racing Australia. We've got Jaguar as a wind tunnel technician. Williams Martini Racing, so again, wind tunnel technician. Worth Research, so the boys involved in Silverstone Park, Silverstone Technology Cluster, and Rob and Co, who we know. And then in 2014, set up Collins. And so, question I always love asking is, what's the genesis behind wanting to get involved in engineering and all things motorsport? Where did it start as a child, tinkering with your dad in the garage, or what was the sort of, what's the story?
Yeah, it's a good question. There's often lots of little seed points, and I think one seed point is somehow when I was probably 3 or 4 or 5, something like that, we had this sort of dune buggy that somehow my dad had got hold of. It just used to sit in the driveway, and so you could hop in it and sit there and pretend as a 5-year-old to sort of drive this dune buggy. And so that was a bit of a seed point. Somehow we got into watching racing when we were sort of 6, 7, 8. Then everyone's had Lego. We've all had Technic Lego, and building up cars, and then becoming being more creative, I guess, and pulling them all apart and saying, okay, now we've built it up as per the manual. Let's just build up the car that we want, kind of thing. And so your creativity kind of comes out, I guess, as a teenager, and then what? Started racing. I guess we actually took ourselves off to a racetrack at age sort of 15 or 16. Mum let us have the Friday off, and we went to our local racetrack in Sydney, and sort of by 11 o'clock we were sort of working with one of the race teams.
Wow.
And they gave us passes for the rest of the weekend, and I was like, oh, this is quite easy. And then all of a sudden we were working at Bathurst that year with that same team, which is Andrew Jones Racing, a young Formula 4 driver. It was just that kind of one of those moments where it's like, you just have to go and ask, and actually, if you just go and pursue what you want, actually it's surprising. It can be surprisingly easy to kind of get in. And the competition side, it's I think we both love competition. We just love competing. Whether it's motorsport today, looking through the regulations and trying to tease them apart and say, well, what do the regulations actually say? What do they not allow you to do? What are they not saying that you are allowed to do?
Yeah.
And so it's nice. Again, it takes a bit of creativity or a bit of lateral thinking. Just you can kind of read the regs so many different ways, and I think that competitor in you says, where can we find some performance? Where's that little curveball we can dive in the back that the regulators maybe didn't think of?
Yeah.
And just try and find that next bit of performance, and that's really enjoyable.
And so you opened a business with your brother. So this is Jill Burke. So you're both now in Oxford. So, what's it like opening a business, first and foremost, for those that are maybe thinking about it? And then what's it like opening one with your brother? Yeah. And how's the last 5 to 6 years been? Because that must have been a fascinating journey.
As I think Ella may have said, I was just watching her podcast with you this morning, and what they don't tell you is all of the things that aren't the engineering. And the reality is, the business is so much more than the thing that you want to do. You might want to be an engineer and have an engineering company like we do, but actually the engineering is the easy part. The hard part is the marketing, the business development, understanding, well, what, those first two or 3 years, is HMRC going to come and look at my taxes? All of those things that you just don't really think about. And if they told you all of the things you had to do, you probably wouldn't start in the first place. So you could argue there's an element of naivety. We do like to push and try new things. So maybe this was a bit of that. Dig yourself out of some of those scrapes, I guess. And in terms of starting with Gilbrook, like anything, he's a known quantity. So we sometimes sort of say, how could you start a business with someone you don't really know that well? How would you have the confidence? That seems like a risk.
Yep.
At least it's a known risk.
Yes. Yeah, true.
I think we're very lucky in that, although we both love engineering, we've got very different approaches to it. That can cause tension. But the beautiful thing is, in that, he can come at things completely differently to me. And I sort of sit there thinking, how did you come up with that? I just, some amazing engineering concepts and developments that just I would never have thought of. So he's maybe probably more of that freestyler, can just come up with something that not many engineers can come up with. And I think I probably provide that, the right amount of foil of, we've actually got to get something done.
Yes.
We've actually got, we can sit here and dream up concepts all day long, but actually we've got to get somewhere. So I think there's a nice balance in there of making sure that we actually produce something and for a client or a project or whatever it might be. But he just comes up with that kind of left field stuff that just wows clients from time to time. Yeah, he is the magic maker.
Brilliant. And business, so for the last 5 years and also during COVID, how's it all been for you guys?
It's such a journey. I think, honestly, one of the things I've loved as a person is the growth that I have seen in myself. And of course we do this, we want the best for our clients. Ultimately, that, we're in business, we want the best for our clients. But the growth that I've found as a person, that I came to thinking business is business and it's not personal. But actually, I just bring me to the business.
Yes.
And Jenna the businessman is just Jenna the person. You can't separate that. And so that passion I bring to life, I bring to my business. I find it hard to separate the two. I'm not someone who can just separate those two out. It's not easy for me. I love what I do. I love the racing side of things, the creativity. It's pretty hard to put that down at night. I guess it's nice having a business because we can be quite flexible in that. And in terms of COVID, we've been pretty lucky, to be fair. I think there's been a lot of people far worse affected than we have. We've been quite lucky that the British Touring Car Championship has managed to go ahead. That was classed as an elite championship. So from August, we were able to continue with that and essentially completed 9 of what would have been 10 rounds. So effectively, the championship more or less went ahead wholesale. We also were lucky enough to find ourselves with a second NBN grant funded project, this time as a partner. That came through a couple of months ago. So to be fair, we've been very lucky. A lot of people are struggling a lot harder than we are, and we've been quite lucky with those. So we're kind of just kind of riding that for the moment, and everyone's in a different place. It's not anyone's fault. It's it just depends on what industry you're in and where you are in your business. Some businesses have a lot more staff than we do and had to lay off people, and so we're quite lucky in that respect.
You just have to remain humble, right? So it's.
I think so.
And you recently joined a few months ago the Silverstone Technology Cluster.
Yep.
So my firm Longhurst is also a member of that institution. So why did you join the STC?
So again, business, from what I think we're learning, is business is about networking. It's about getting out there and talking to people, probably much like life, really. And the bigger our network will be, the more stable we can be as a business, I think. And the STC is in a great location. It's the heart of motorsport. I know it's not necessarily motorsport solely focused, but from a technological standpoint, no doubt there'll be people there that we can partner with, we can provide support to, and vice versa. I'm sure we'll get support from. So we became aware of, I think, Roz through Roz. I think she's part of the park. I think she's
Roz is commercial director for MEPC, who obviously owns.
That's right. Yep. And so that was through the Niche Vehicle Network, which we're also part of. So I think there's some overlap between network members between those two. So it just felt like a natural step, I guess, to kind of.
Yeah, we'd endorse that. Yeah, I think you will certainly be able to benefit from the networking, especially when they become physical events again. Pre-COVID, they were exceptional. Every month there were things to attend, and then the annual conference, which is this Thursday, actually, which is digital and virtual this week. And also the podcast. So you're already listening to some of them, but there'll be a bunch of interviews in there, down in the archive. So I think you're going to be interview number 93 or 94. So there's a few more in there where you may be able to pick up some pearls of wisdom, but also some connections perhaps. So and for those listening to this that aren't aware, the Silverstone Technology Cluster, or the STC, is basically a network community connected to Silverstone Park, which itself is based on Silverstone F1 race circuit. So it's just surrounded by engineering, motorsport, technology businesses, as well as service providers. So I'm a service provider. There are lawyers, accountants, money people on site. So a brilliant community. So delighted that you're part of it, Jenna. And
cool. Thank you.
And next year, certainly when the physical events are on, we'll no doubt physically meet. Hopefully.
Yes, that'll be nice.
What else? So let's start closing off the interview. So that's a fantastic amount of information. So thank you. Couple of last questions. So post-COVID. So let's pretend we've all got our vaccinations, whatever order we're allowed them in.
Yeah.
And it's the middle or the latter part of next year. What are you personally looking forward to doing the most that perhaps you can't do at the moment?
Going home to Australia for a holiday.
Obviously, see your family.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking forward to that. It will have been. The reality is, if we're racing, I'm sure we're racing next year. It'll be towards the end of next year. That'll be sort of 3 years. It'll be pretty much the longest stretch. So I won't have been back seeing family and whatnot. So yeah, absolutely, that would be primary number one.
Were they all in Sydney? Did I hear you say Sydney earlier?
Yeah, for the most part, yeah. Yeah, my family's in Sydney.
What's it like in Sydney? I've never been to Australia. So Sydney, is it as glorious as the photos look on New Year's Eve when the fireworks are going off?
When you live there, you don't appreciate it. And when you leave, you think, goodness me, there aren't many places in the world that are like this.
Wow.
You don't realise how lucky you are when you go back there, I think.
That's a testimony. my now late uncle was over there. He was a British diplomat, lived over in Sydney.
Wow.
So anyway, by all accounts, beautiful place.
Yeah, no, it is.
Right, final question, and Jenna, this is probably the toughest, the most difficult question you're ever going to get asked.
I'll steel myself.
In your career. I'm going to give it a drum roll. It's such a stupid question, I apologize. What is the king of crisps?
The king of crisps.
The king of crisps.
Interesting. So, that is a good question. I would say my allegiances have changed quite recently.
Your allegiance.
And there's a new crisp out called, I think it's the Mano Massa, and it's a little hexagonal shaped crisp. You might have to look it up.
I'm going to Google this now. Mano Massa.
Mano Massa, chili and honey. That's my little tip for you.
Hold on. Oh yeah, there we go. Tortillas.
Yeah.
What flavour?
Chili and honey is the latest flavour, I would say.
Mano Massa. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, yeah, you can buy them at all. I mean, the one I've clicked on is ended up on Harvey Nicks. I mean,
right.
The sites to click on. That looks like a crisp packed full of flavour.
It's a bit of a manly crisp.
Right.
And for the ladies, it's fine.
Of course, yes, diversity.
No, it's a good crisp. I used to be a Pringles man, but these are of similar. Once you pop, it's quite hard to stop.
Really? I mean, they've got green lemon and pink peppercorn, white cheddar and jalapeno, chipotle and lime. Oh, I'm going to literally, whilst we're
he's hit order already.
Serrano chili, and Yucatan honey, however you pronounce that. I mean, there's so many on here. Dude, that's a great shout. I'm going to literally be tapping that up and seeing what they're like. So, fantastic. Jenna, as I said, this is a serious podcast. And
we need a crisp review at the end of this. Not a podcast review, I want a crisp review.
Crisp review, yeah. I should just launch a podcast where we just talk about crisps. But Jenna from Collins Limited, thank you so much for coming on the show. I'm going to make sure that there's a link in the show notes to your company website so people can come and check you guys out. I know that you're working on some really interesting projects at the moment, and so for those listening to this, you guys should definitely check them out. Obviously, I look forward to eventually meeting you in person at an STC event, but until then, obviously, keep safe, keep well, keep healthy, keep sane in this revised lockdown that we're entering right now, new tiers, and I look forward to seeing and hearing more about Collins over the coming years.
Brilliant. Thanks for your time, Chris. I appreciate being on.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, mate.
The Inside Silverstone podcast is produced by the team at Longhurst for the benefit of those with a passion for all things tech, engineering and innovation. For more information, please visit longhurst.co.uk/Inside Silverstone, whilst also remembering to give us a 5 out of 5 star rating on iTunes. Please note that neither Chris Broome or Longhurst work for Silverstone Park, Silverstone Circuit or Silverstone Technology Cluster.